Evening, friends. I welcome you all on behalf of Team Udan Saluters. We are very fortunate and privileged to have amongst us today the branding, marketing, and ad world wizard and guru himself, Bonnie Loy Fernandez. Bonnie, very good evening to you and a very warm welcome to you. And I take this opportunity to thank you. And now I'll proceed to introduce Bonnie very briefly and about give some talk on the subject, the theme basically. Bonnie is a co-founder at Spark Magic Experience and co-founder and producer at Common Roots. Today's talk is on the theme Hack the Influence People and Product by the creative wizard Bonnie himself. Bonnie is a seasoned advertising and global branding professional with rich and assorted experience across 4 continents and around the globe, providing the brands that our brands are voices and products are souvenirs. Let's explore today's theme. Branding is important for people and products not only make because it makes a memorable impression on others, but also allows your stakeholders to know what to expect from you or your entity or the product. It is a way of distinguishing yourself from the competitors and clarifying what it is that you offer that makes you better choice, changing from a zero to hero in no time. Your brand is built to be true representation of you, who you are as a business and how you wish to be perceived to be. Thus, identity is the cause and the brand is an effect. In today's time, even an individual is required to be conscious of the fact about the branding, marketing, and advertising. I'm very sure you all will find today's session very productive, a value adder to your life. With that, now I'll request Mr. Bonnie to take it further. Bonnie, it's all yours. Session is all yours.
Thanks, Rishikesh. And thank you, Udan Saluters, for this opportunity. I will quickly switch on to the presentation mode itself and probably just start off with a little bit of introduction and a little bit of detailing as to what we're going to discuss today. So the theme was obviously hacking the influence, people and product. And just to give, sorry, I'm just going to put this on. So just a quick introduction on myself. So I've been into advertising and marketing for the last 20 years. I've worked between advertising agencies in India and South Africa and East Africa, as well as with marketing companies headquartered in Bombay, as well as in other areas such as Africa as well. In terms of the experience and in terms of the exposure, I've worked in marketing and brand communication, digital media and social media, advertising very separately, and also in terms of consulting projects with various companies within brand and marketing itself. In terms of industries, the exposure has been through various industries, not just India-based, Africa-based, but also some US-based clients and those related brands. So this is just in terms of my profile and in terms of some of the few brands that we've been involved in. Spark Magic is obviously the events company that we run. Wanderlust Escapes is into travel experiential, but most of it has now come to a standstill. Dakita is into brand related work. And we also have Common Roots, as Rishikesh mentioned, which was the last projects which we did online to support 3 NGOs with a virtual music festival kind of an approach. And in that Common Roots Festival, we covered around 100+ artists in just across 4 days of a certain caliber and also spread between 11 to 12 countries. So we had that kind of number crunching that happened over there. And then also in terms of the support for the NGOs. But these are some of the brands and companies that we're involved in. Quickly jumping into the topic itself, what we looked at was a couple of 4 large aspects that you wanted to cover. One is in terms of marketing and 2020, what is its relevance today? 2 is the professional services and the various brands within that category, and therefore, what are the kind of aspirations, what are the kind of fears, what are the kind of category and culture and other impact on these kind of brands. And last one is, of course, the connection and outcome. What is it that we want to achieve out of it? So if we quickly look at marketing in 2020, you'll find that most of it is now a topsy-turvy world. You know, it's the same world, but only put upside down. And it's still, you know, where it was frowning earlier, now it is smiling, and that's the odd and the interesting part of it. It is a known fact also that the North and South poles actually switch the polarities every couple of thousand years. And what is happening in the world of marketing is that the compass to which it all points towards is trust. Trust has become a very overlarging aspect in the entire marketing parlance. And this world of culture has changed even more with the COVID instance itself. Companies are now relating and resonating with consumers through empathy and various other tactics which are more honest in the approach. And therefore, we know that a lot has changed, but we ourselves have not upgraded that information, knowledge, and various other things. And there's partly two reasons for this. One is that things are a lot more easier and simpler at a stage and a point of time in our lives. And two is it has also got a lot more fragmented, and therefore, insight has now become more science than other aspects to it. And we find ourselves doing a couple of things, but what is true is that just because we've come back from a much simpler time, we try and impose or implement simplistic approaches, which sometimes works, but sometimes doesn't work because there are far too many moving pieces in the entire scheme of things. And that is one thing that we need to be conscious of as we are managing newer challenges, newer work groups in terms of age groups and other aspects in terms of influences, and now in terms of geographies as well. So social media didn't just hasn't changed people as much as it has leveled the playing field, and this works far closer to how it has impacted in terms of internet and various other things where social media lives. So television was invented for the masses and also held on to a lot of TV ads. Radio is the same, but the internet is not. Social media is not. Social media is much more about connection rather than advertising and that kind of a monologue. And therefore, one of the things that has fundamentally built internet is this thing about not having to deal with interruptions. And and while it is the largest, it is also one of the smallest things that you can hold around in your pocket and walk around. So there's a lot of interesting things to how internet is much different from other mediums that existed before in terms of television or radio and various other aspects. And social media, instead of being looked at from a very casual point of view, I think we need to see the impact that it has on each of us in a very direct way as such. And you'll find some of these examples still relevant today. So brand equity in 2020, they still did their top 100 brands in the country. And you'll find a mix between old school as well as new world brands in there. So there's WhatsApp in the top 10 at number 2. But if you see most of the other names, from Fevicol to Horlicks to Parle-G to Amul to Dettol to Colgate to Good Day to Cadbury Dairy Milk, they are all old world names. Facebook and WhatsApp are the only two names that feature in there. And this speaks volumes of it, despite the fact that there's a lot more to hear and see on social media than otherwise. But brands do command trust, and some of these brands from the old world, if I can just use that crude term, still live up to those values and are therefore counted as much. So in terms of 2020, if I had to kind of summarize it, fundamentals of branding and advertising still exist, is what I was coming through with this slide. There's a lot of opportunity, missed opportunity with internet that we are not capitalizing and leveraging ourselves with. Social media has done a lot of things much easier. And we still have our old habits that we relate to. So that is, in a way, to summarize the marketing 2020 aspects where we are currently standing today. In terms of as a category, and if we have to look at it broadly from these 4 grid perspectives to see who the consumer is, what is the category all about, what is the brand all about, and what is the culture all about, we can see that from a culture point of view, there are a couple of things. So one is, a lot of companies today, like in this article by Forbes, has listed down what actually could be a good time to refresh your brand, or is it a good time to revisit your brand itself? And they've given some basic guides how companies can approach this, from asking your employees to seeing the nature of your business. Is it all relationship derived? Is it all based on only a few people and their relationships? Is it about looking at a reality versus other aspects? And if there's a question of mergers and acquisitions and how that has impacted the culture. So there are a lot of other topics also in terms of how myths are still being perpetuated or still not being too relevant. And some of them is very valid, like the myth 2 over here, which is content marketing is equal to thought leadership, which is not the same. They're two different things. To even how various other myths still perpetuate in the way we approach them. And that is not completely true, because the reason I'm saying is we need to discount and debate some of this is because currently we're living in a space where online marketing is going to be only all the more prevalent. In fact, just some time before this call, Rishikesh and myself were discussing about how a lot of things from the old school world in terms of face-to-face meeting or having a lunch meeting or having a lot of other opportunities to have that one-to-one connection is suddenly getting diluted. And therefore, does that mean how it impacts business where it's relationship based or some other ways? Can we transfer that to a brand? Can we therefore transfer it to the other ways we approach as an organization and not just one person? And those are going to be far more relevant as we go along. To even looking at brands from an archetype perspective. And we all know this, we have all seen it, but we have not exactly embraced it. So there are brands which do things in an innocent fashion, and brands like Dove represent that. It talks about safety, it talks about that kind of language, that kind of visual identity, that kind of approach. If you look at Caregiver, which is WWF, if you look at Creator, which is Apple, they all have a specific brand archetype, and based on that is how they communicate, and that's how the world sees them. And which is why you find that all their ads always makes a lot of sense. With COVID-19 very specifically, what we're seeing is from this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where we are currently sitting towards is the basic needs itself, where we're looking at security, where we're looking at safety, where we're looking at psychological aspects of food, warmth, rest, and aspects, and how we still now come back to the basics after that. So the point that we're trying to make within culture is that COVID is now a reality, is the new normal. We have got to be a lot more careful than otherwise. Two is looking at, can we employ brand archetypes, which is more important in the B2B space. Can we challenge the myths and also understand them better, and seeing where is the time to refresh your B2B brand. Because given the COVID reality, you may now need to relook at a couple of those other factors. If you look at the consumer and therefore what are the consumer passion or tension, or what are the things that they've been seeing or barged in very repetitively, it could be through this article, which clearly states how clients are now seeing, consumers are seeing a lot of cliche statements that we are client focused, we are global, we build lasting, but these are so replaceable and forgettable claims is what they state through this article. And therefore to challenge it, how does the one do that? Is the whole point here. The journey of it also in terms of trying to use digital marketing in a way where the entire focus is not on the tools or not on the social media platform, but is on the content that is created. How unique is that content to your organization, to your brand, and therefore where it can stand out. And again, these are not things that you need to employ with a large army of people, but with thoughtful introspection and some bit of strategy as well as tactics involved into the entire thing. If you look at the kind of brand, the kind of marketing and the tools we need across the buyer's journey, we're looking at infographics, we're looking at blogs, we're looking at videos, we're looking at guides, we're looking at reviews, testimonials, calculators, webinars, case studies, and a whole gamut of it. And there's a reason for this, is because buyers come of a different age group, buyers come with different interests, and all these things in some way or the other fit into different stories, part of the bigger picture, so as to speak. So each one will do it, but will do it differently. There's also the rise in the consumption of videos because of better broadband services, better 4G LTE services, better hardware, and various other aspects. And that again is fueled this consumption of videos, so to speak. Data is also much cheaper in India, and that adds to it further. If you look at the category and what the category is overall doing, it is also moving towards telling groups of people such as lawyers or accountants or chartered accountants or a group of such experts that they eventually need to move towards an emotional connection, not the kind of emotional connection you get in a B2C brand, but the kind of an emotional connection of confidence, dependability, those aspects when it comes to your clients. Second is also about creating that whole foundation of marketing so that it is not project based, or it is not based on couple of levers only, but it is a discipline that is followed throughout the year, and various other things in it. One of the most important things that it has touched upon here was lawyers using storytelling as a way to connect with people, and I found that very unique, as much as very interesting that it uses it uses an industry term of storytelling, but in lawyers' case, it becomes a lot more powerful as a story, and therefore what are the things that we can therefore imbibe from here into B2B brands as such. If you look at some of the other articles with Forbes itself, it again talks about how these groups of people have been reluctant otherwise to use some of these branding tips, and therefore how they can now look at companies like Accenture, Capgemini, and how they have really relooked at the entire thing. How Teleperformance, from an outsourcing company, it has suddenly become a lot more than just that. How it has used the power of branding, the power of diversity, the power of inclusion, and various other aspects to its advantage as a large global player, and therefore connected with employees and industry and various other people there. If you look at even how millennials, the age group that everyone talks about, and the influence that they've had with B2B very specifically, you're finding a lot of articles in terms of how purpose matters a lot more. Talking about the why, and those aspects are more important than what you do. In fact, some of the benefits of these can be seen in the rise of even Apple devices. So Apple doesn't compare pixels or RAM or ROM or specification of the phone. It talks about how great that unique photograph was. And it therefore talks about experiences and not about the bullet points that make the experience, versus an Android phone actually does quite the opposite. And therefore, it gives a good lever again in terms of what are the things that we should be employing in the marketing space. And this is what I mentioned about also defining purpose and not just mission and vision statements, because it is a lot more valuable to this group of people, the millennials and the other group of digital natives that are existing. And of course, lots looking at the brand itself. And the common things that came out from the brand was that there is a very sea of sameness. And sorry for the reference of law firm here, but I was looking at very extreme ways to how to box a few of these concerns. And the other thing also that came up was in terms of creating a differentiated professional service brand. And this is especially true in areas where you can now see it in action, where you see an Amazon and Flipkart that does the same job, but they both do it differently. Flipkart uses a lot of kids and those aspects to bring that familial family structure, and as easy as that anyone can operate, to Amazon's using different tactics again. Again, in terms of consistency of messages, those are the other things that it needs to be addressed. And this is all within the brand as to what are the brands that are struggling with. Is this other move of moving and seeing how client expectations can now be managed with experience itself, and what does that experience therefore entail? So in a sense, the way the category is moved towards is more towards pull marketing and not towards push. To put it in another way, in digital and social media, if you have a great article, if you have a very interesting infographic or a great video, people will come and like it and comment it and do and so forth. But if they have not done any of that, then has it made any impact? I think so that defines pull marketing versus push, where you go and shove it down people, but here it actually attracts people towards you rather than chasing them down the road. And therefore, what it brings out to the point is we need to therefore bring our A game. And A game, why? Because it will open all doors for us. And we've seen this in the 2009 recession, 2008, 2009 recession, where companies, 17% of the companies didn't survive the recession. 80% of it didn't reach their previous growth or growth rates. And a handful of them and 10% of them, really thrived through the slowdown. And these are the three kind of companies that existed. Prevention-focused companies, which essentially didn't, which aimed low and invested very low in innovation. Promotion-focused companies that did exactly the opposite without looking at the warning signs. And then there was the pragmatic companies. What is important to see is that we'll typically be shuttling between these two aspects, but very few actually going there. And for us, what it entails right now with pragmatic options is not being too not being too far-sighted in not seeing the warning signs, or not being too conservative in that sense, but actually trying to see what is the growth opportunity. Because companies like Amazon, companies like Netflix actually made its success more from recessions and after it than during it. And maybe they were all online based, but it really was not about online as much as a change in behavior, which is what is happening today with COVID. And therefore, it is a lot more interesting to look at this phenomenon. And if you look at, therefore, what does this mean to your companies and brands? Then from my experience, I've worked with a recruitment process outsourcing company. I've worked with a general ITES. I've worked with advertising. I've worked with advertising brands which are into various space, from technology to FMCG to retail to RPOs again, to even energies and other businesses related to different countries as well. And within that, what we're now seeing is, to get back to that level, can we therefore look at business as usual? It may not be. And therefore, before we get into that, what else can we look at? One, it is a virtual world, and it is frighteningly so even today as we look at it. So we need to up our game and skills. We need to use expertise with online collaboration wherever possible, from webinars to sales calls to marketing to CRMs, wherever possible with lead generation, etc. We need to automate it and use the online collaboration as much as possible. Our reliance on digital channels is much higher today. Most of our work is just between webinars, emails, and sitting on the net, working from home, rather than traveling and doing some of the other bits which we actually used to do at one point in time. And so therefore, we need to be more digitally savvy and be cognizant it is a virtual world. That's the thing to start with. Two is, one of the best reasons why people will come back to you is because trust and confidence is in short supply. And if you can help people or give them that kind of feeling through your business or through your approach, I think people will start trusting you and your brand even more. We've seen this with companies and employees. We've seen this with the risk that is perpetually there among our prospects, our peers, among our partners, as well as with our clients. We've seen how people's laid-back attitude is also working against them, as because they've seen SARS and H1N1 and various other things. And last and least of not of all is the overwhelming bit that has come through with COVID, because people are dealing with work as well as being at home and various other responsibilities around uncertainty, ambiguity, and the impact of it on just normal living. Forget about coping and thriving. And the last, of course, is every money, rupee is precious at the moment. And therefore, we need to be a lot more focused with what we do, sure of what we do, sharpen the axe before we go to chop the wood. And whatever little also we do should be very meaningful and interesting, rather than doing quantum of it, which you cannot afford. We should do qualitative aspects of that and keep increasing and improving that. And this is a very interesting quote that I saw, because our business model today has got to be bold, and it has got to be who we are. Because if you look at the traditional approach, there was face-to-face, it was local, it was all about customized services. Specific markets were more closer to our business versus an approach of RD billing and value pricing. But now with the virtual and digital space, the entire category and the gamut of offerings has changed, and therefore we'll need to move with this new approach if you want to survive and thrive. Uh, Two is the target audience is also going to be looking at these aspects. And if you look at the digital and brand strategy on the left, today this is the half world that we are actually living our full lives into. The right side is something that will not happen, but most of them will be just left behind. For one of the reasons is because they're not going to be as effective as what a digital marketing is in terms of consumer targeting and consumer segmentation, and therefore message efficacy and cost and return on investment in terms of that. So you'll see more lopsided behavior on the digital side versus the traditional side, and COVID has literally pushed most of them into the dark because of the same reasons. And this is the universe of tools which are to use. Now, instead of getting overwhelmed looking at it, I would say just give it a good glance and see what are the things that y'all can do as a company or as a brand immediately, and break it into these various buckets and therefore approach it differently. If you have the liberty of employing an agency, go ahead and do so, who will do this kind of work, so you have a better bird's eye view on the complete strategy and what is to be established rather than the nitty-gritties of who is going to do it and how. But it is an important thing to consider that these are the different aspects that will go into talking to this audience through these various things on the left-hand side of the screen. So these are the different ways to reach them. And therefore, we come to the last few bits, which is some kind of case studies and various other aspects. But I think what would be interesting over here is probably to hear you all with questions or answers that you all may have, related to this. If you have any queries related to how this is valid or would be valid to you, then maybe we could hear your questions itself and try and attempt and address them in many ways. So just to quickly recap, sorry, what I was saying is that to make the session a little bit more interactive, there's far too much ground to cover on marketing and advertising, but I thought one of the larger themes which we should touch upon is the impact of COVID and how COVID, we need to regroup and see how we work on brands and the need for it, therefore, even more today. But I thought what will make it more interesting, if you all can, if you all have any questions and can bring it up, then it'll be easier for us to address specific areas over here as well.
So I'll request all the participants to punch in their questions in the Zoom app through Q&A section, and in all the other social media stream, wherever we are doing live, to be give their questions or views, whatever the queries they have, and accordingly we'll try to club it together and take it further. In the meanwhile, Bonnie, I'll just proceed ahead with some of the questions what was already come from the participants. In today's time, how important, first of all, it is for a person to be aware about the concept of branding, marketing, and advertising as such. Because whether we are in job or whether you are in your own zone of a practice, everyone wants to grow in life. Everyone wants to develop. Everyone wants better things in life. But at the same time, all are not fortunate to go to the next level. So you feel ki how this branding, marketing, advertising can help them? Because to give you a very small quote, what is coming in my mind to put across this question, there is a very famous movie, Hindi movie, Dawn, whereby Amitabh Bachchan has put a gun on the head of Helen and telling, I won't allow you to go out. So Helen is telling, how can you not allow me to go out when the police is standing? So he is telling, you know that a gun doesn't have bullets, but police doesn't know. So what I'm trying to say is, jo dikhta hai, wo bikhta hai. Can you just elaborate on this?
Right. So I think we're living in a world where things are becoming a lot more instantaneous. So our communication, our dialogues are becoming a lot more instantaneous. In fact, we expect emails and responses to emails also to be instantaneous as much as it is a chat. And there is a little misalignment of expectations also when it comes to some things related to time. Food with pizzas, with ready to eat, with various other aspects in life, it's become very instantaneous there also. So there's a lot of impetus across life where things need to happen immediately. And therefore, one of the key things that has happened also is about how we need to establish our credibility. or our importance or our value as a brand a lot more immediately. And that is why you find a lot of companies or a lot of people touting about their relationships, their awards, their followers, their various around that, is only to establish that credibility in a certain context immediately of sorts. And I think we all have these gold nuggets, so as to speak. But I think everyone's following a narrative of only the larger herd of people, whatever they're doing, we'll also do it. I think what is important to realize is we all are unique. And to stand out in a crowd, we have to own that uniqueness rather than get lost in that sea of noise. And therefore, jo dikhta hai wahi bikta hai is very true, because in being unique, you can stand out. But what that also means is that you may not appeal to everyone. You may appeal to a few. But what the good part is, in being unique, you have attracted your own kind of people. And those consumers will always be your biggest fans. So it is not just about, it may seem like it is a little shallow or so, but one is looking at it for that aspect. But the other thing is, it also allows you to reach people whom you can resonate with. And therefore not waste time, energy, money on people that don't matter.
Second question which is coming, Boni, you may just share your experience or value addition to that. In today's time, what this COVID has done, as was rightly pointed out during your presentation, that it has demolished the geography as such in the mindset of a person. Right. Earlier, if I have to give a Mumbai example, someone is having his office in Bandra, maybe he has to go and meet a client in Kolaba or a Kaf Parade or a Mahalakshmi, which right. Earlier, though that meeting was necessary, yet the physical meeting was not necessary. Through the right. means of information technology could have been handled. Right. Do you think now this will give a very unique opportunity to professionals? Maybe, for example, you are sitting in Bangalore, we are sitting in Mumbai. Some of our audience are sitting in London, US, and participating in this webinar. So right. It is easy for any professional also to give the service. But in order to do so, it is very fundamental that people should be aware about that person, right? Correct. Whether you may, that's why in today's time, if you go to professional sites like social media, like LinkedIn, where you see doctors, where you are seeing law firms, chartered accountancy firms having their own profile as such, and now they are going they are in the beginning stage, but that has started.
Right. Right.
So how would you sum it up? Because with your experience of 20 years in 4 continents, as I always say, Boni is 20 into 4, 20 years into 4 different continents. How you see it globally, this thing is being churned around?
Right. So I think one of the key things that is coming across with post-COVID or during this COVID time is to do more with less. And one is that online allows us to do that. COVID has pushed across the urgency in terms of, if it's not important, then one does not need to travel. If it's not urgent, then one does not need to do these things. But is a little bit more realistic in those aspects. And therefore, I think we can do a lot more with even less, which earlier we used to posture and do things around for the nature of the industry. But today that is not required. So I think that is going to be a reality. And I think we should also look at it. We cannot dictate COVID and various other aspects around it. But the most prudent thing for us to do is actually look at what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and therefore how to ride that wave. And the sooner, therefore, we do that, the better it is, rather than work around and worry too much about the issues itself. And you know, if we look at history, if you look at a couple of aspects, some of the greatest innovations and aspects that has influenced humanity as such has come through adversity. You know, so I think this is all a good time where a lot of old beliefs are being challenged. The good ones will survive. And I think those are the fundamentals that are still prevailing today in all our fields, including branding, including law, including the fundamentals always remain there. But I think the way it is interpreted in today's day and age will change drastically. So where earlier focus on what and how things are said in a digital medium were not given so much thought. Now it will be exactly 80-20, but the other way around. 80% people will worry about what to say and how to say it, versus 20% will be on how to do the same outside. Till pre-COVID, it was the other way around, where 80% was how we do things generally and 20% was online, kuch karna hai to adapt kar lenge. But now we cannot do that because the competition is intense, and if we don't start that race now, we'll be left behind and we'll have a lot more catching up to do, which will only get much worse. So the best thing is just to be prudent and jump into the game ASAP.
Also, Bonnie, you may just take us to, in today's time, if we just shift the subject matter from the product to the personal side. In today's time, even persons like Virat Kohli or Anushka or Amitabh Bachchan, they are seeing them as a brand. Sachin Tendulkar, Vishwanathan Anand, all these are, they don't require advertising, marketing to people know about them, right? Yet they themselves are recognizing the fact that they are a brand in themselves, and it is required to market and advertising. Similarly, if persons of such a stature are required to do this, then definitely people at such level who are not to their level in terms of the reach, people knowing them, definitely would be requiring it. So how would you try to say to any, let's suppose a young doctor starting his own, or a young chartered accountant, or any young player, let's suppose signing up and playing in the IPL, how they should develop their person as a brand and market it?
I think one is developing a personal brand. I think should be looked at from again the way we define it, and I'd like to use some borrowed thoughts that I've seen around. One is, I think we all need to own our unique self the way it is, whether it is peculiar, whether it is funny, whether it is strange, whether it is eccentric, whether it is funny, whatever it may be. I think we need to embrace that, one. And two is, along with what we say and how we communicate, I think two other things also influence us a lot. And one is in terms of just well-being in terms of nutrition, and really therefore practicing a good discipline with food and habits and those aspects. And the second is in terms of exercise and exposure. So I mean, whether it's hobbies or a couple of those things. And I think those two aspects add a lot of weight to individuals' capacity in terms of their personal brand. Because you are unique in your own way, that you prefer art in terms of music, classical music. You will be looked at in a particular way, and you'll have your own contribution of coming from law and other aspects with music to create something. Someone else may have a different thing related to sports. Someone else may have something else uniquely. So each of these impact, I think, your personality in many ways. It impacts your values and the way you look at aspects. At the same time, it gives you a better way to connect with communities and people as well. So I think each of this needs to be looked at as to what works for us and what doesn't work for us. So, for example, if like I personally am not a sports fan. So I mean, I don't look at a lot of cricket, for instance. But at the same time, I cannot just discard it and leave it in the side, because in marketing and advertising, we do have to still understand the nature of it. So we have to be, so in terms of, but in terms of the way it influences me, things that I like to do is to do with animal welfare, is to do with some counseling support, it's to do some other aspects. But those things again give me, understanding in terms of my own value system, my own belief system, and therefore reinforces in whatever we do is work as well. So I think there are those couple of individual as well as professional aspects that do live off each other. But I think it will all come from where and what your beliefs are. And following on those beliefs is more important. That will guide you nonetheless, either ways.
Bonnie, the next question is, in today's time, social media is quite enigmatic.
Right.
On the one hand, you have reach where we can reach to lakhs and crores of people by even sitting in the space, if you have a net connectivity. If you have internet connectivity from the outer world also, you may just do any tweet or FB and you may reach to the people over here. Yet at the same time, it also throws you challenge of a different kind. First challenge is, if you are using, let's say, a medium like a Twitter, the word is limited over there.
Correct.
If you are going to a content like the graphic content like a Insta, whereby the photos are there, but people have so many choice, which one to look. Correct. Right. Third, FB, it is a mix of both. You can play with the words, you can have your photograph. Yet at the same time, you have to maintain a very good balance. Both should be appealing, your content as well as the video or the picture, whatever you may have.
Right.
If you go to the LinkedIn, it has to be more sophisticated. What you can do in FB, you cannot do in the. So in all these parameters, how important it is to be creative for any person or for any brand. Importance of creativity in today's time, or the innovation in today's time.
Right. So I think the best and the easiest way to answer that question is, for example, right now we are seeing a lot of webinars happen. But how many webinars would we periodically come back again for? I think that is a good way to answer that, is that there's so many things that are happening right now, and all of it is happening online. There is very few brands and companies, or a larger portion of it in the SMBs and the other places, where they are not going to use a radio or a television. They're going to use online. So therefore, how do they stand out within that space? And therefore, can it be done interestingly? So just think of it in terms of college days, when one wanted to stand out using a guitar, or one wanted to stand out using a bike, one wanted to stand out using how good their in a guy's case, a girlfriend, or this the other half. It always was, each one took a different approach. So in marketing as well, we all need to look at as to what and how we can actually stand out in a sea of sameness as such. So we'll all use the same language, like saying I went to this law college, or I went to this marketing school, or XYZ, but what is it that I can use? And I think storytelling is a very interesting way to help you stand out. So what I mean by that is, in my own pitch, for example, when I speak about that I've worked in India in advertising, in marketing also in India and Africa, gone to UK, France, did my education there, and came a very linear approach of that itself. The one very interesting way to do it is by actually stating that I am actually of an explorer spirit. And as an explorer, I prefer not to get grounded in comfort, but to go into adventure. And therefore, my first place, when the whole world was going towards US and Singapore, I went towards Africa. And then I didn't want to have the crutch of English being the first language for discovery. And therefore, I chose another country where English is not the first language, which was France, for my MBA. And therefore, if I wanted to make that same thing on my own background from a linear approach to say 7 years in Bombay, then 2 years in Africa, then 2 years in Europe, and then another 7 years in India, I just broke it up in a very way using explorer spirit, my personal aspirations, travel. You could actually, if you do it creatively, it becomes a nice, interesting thing to hear about, versus otherwise it just sounds like a lot of bullet points.
Very well said. Very well said. Bonnie, it would be quite injustice to the topic if we don't discuss the aspect of social media influence in today's time. Perhaps brand don't need the Amitabh Bachchans and Sachin Tendulkars to sell any product, but they need the YouTubers and the TikTokers of the world. Can you just elaborate on the concept and whatever you want to add to that?
Right. I think there's another question by Neeta as well, who has asked that we expect too much dependence on social media. So I can answer that also along with this.
Right.
I think one is, currently our dependence on social media is also based on the way that it manipulates us into behaving. So they are being clever in the way they have designed the ads, the way they have gamified everything. And including the likes of me, it is very difficult to escape that. So that is one. But whether we are dependent on it even more right now, yes. Will it get even worse, so as to speak? Yes. Things on the normal traditional world is only getting more and more thinner. Some of it will not even exist probably. So this moving to social media and to the online media, so to speak, will definitely be a very overriding theme as we go along. In terms of social media influencers, therefore, or any online influencers, therefore, it is something that will be important, but the one thing that won't be taken away is that these guys are influencers for a particular reason, and which is to say that they have been working at their craft, or they're building their tribe or their community for a certain amount of time to have that kind of followers to be therefore considered an influencer. So while you and me will look at influencers and we'll just say, oh, wow, this is the great one today and this is a great one tomorrow. But each of these guys have been at it for the last couple of years, if not decades. And therefore, if we want to be in that same space, it will take some time and energy. But like I said, for brands to be in that space of an influencer, they need to therefore start today so that they'll reach somewhere and not delay that process further.
Second, as you have pointed and raised many pertinent issues for the professionals, whether it's the doctors, chartered accountants, lawyers, company secretaries, and so on, or maybe startup for that thing. How important it is value addition, for example, we know in today's time people send newsletters. It is also nothing but a scope of a market such or an advertising to some extent. Right. How important is a value addition? I am getting hundreds of newsletters. I hardly open any one of them.
Right.
So you feel that the people should realize that the newsletters of theirs is a very good medium to market their brand as such, and they have to think of the value creation or the value addition over here, or the storytelling, basically, in other words.
Correct. So I think that's a very thing, because I think we should not just look at what we can use. Yes, we have a lot of things at our disposal. So newsletters is actually a very good idea, because people who have subscribed to your newsletter or that database actually is willingly said, yes, I want your newsletter. How many people do that? So it is a very good statistic, so as to speak. Two is we should employ everything possible, but we should employ them in moderation. Balance is the key for anything in the world. Too much money can make you go insane, or to give you too much. Too much anything good of yoga also, maybe that is the only exception, but too much of exercise can give you fatigue and other aspects. But moderation is the key. Too much of food can do it otherwise. So moderation is the key, and to do it with that balance. When I say moderation, it's that balance that is important. So with newsletters, if the newsletter, depending on the target audience, so if your target audience is someone who doesn't have a lot of time, at the same time is looking at your newsletter for some insights, then instead of it being in a written form, can it be a video clip of 1 minute? Because then I can just go there and quickly play it, listen it in 1 minute, which I can do easily, in between meals, having a dessert after meal, I can grab that 1 minute anywhere. If it is a 5-minute video also, I can grab it anywhere. But if I have to read through it, then it suddenly depends on, oh, where am I viewing this? On my phone, on my tablet? Can I take a printout? Should I read it later? Will I get time? You will start dealing it. So if I can make it easy and digestible in terms of the heaviness of it, much easier, I think people will automatically start consuming more. So if I give you the same newsletter as a video or a bunch of videos, maybe you'll prefer it. Maybe you won't. There are some people who still want to read it. For those people, you can put it as a PDF attachment. But if I can make it easier for you to get educated and be abreast about a few things, I'm sure you would want to consider that.
Also, for any person, individual person or the professional, the biggest way they market themselves or they brand themselves, or the way people are able to recognize them, is through the visiting card. Right. How important it is to be very, conscious about the fact that the visiting card is in fact a branding tool or a marketing tool for any professional as such, or any firm.
Yeah, I think I think anything for that matter, anything that is an expression of your company or your brand or who you stand for, then that expression should always be looked at very carefully, and with baby's gloves, so as to speak, kids' gloves, so as to speak, because it needs to therefore imbibe and stand for all the things that you believe in. It needs to do all those other aspects that you or your brand would want to demonstrate for the client, and therefore it has value in it. So for example, when a business card is made on a very nice printed, or uses another thing like your business card with the gold aspect to it, it not just makes it stand out. Standing out is obviously a factor, is one of the outcomes, but what makes it unique is for people to actually look at it and spend a second or two on it. what that does itself, you got someone to reflect on something with an approach, which automatically convinces someone to be predisposed to you in many aspects. So it's almost, you are nicely grooming your potential client to actually become your client by positive associations. And for something to look forward to, something that is a conversation maker, something that builds familiarity. So people typically, when they see a business card, they look at it and they'll look at it, and if it's really average or something, they might just say, oh, great, okay, great. And your email address, okay, and they'll put it in. But if it's something little interesting that catches their attention, because we're all humans, so touch, any of the senses, we will mention of how nice it is. We'll mention that, oh, something about it, or I don't know, it will come out. So it speaks a lot about how in some way you've converted that interest into a little bit of a dialogue rather than just "Arey vendor aap apna price bataiye 40 rupees." It becomes a little bit warmer is what I'm saying, and those things definitely make a huge difference with any expression. So visiting cards is just one of them. It could be your logo, it could be a video, it could be various aspects.
So, Bonnie, can you just share some success mantra for MSME as such, or a startup venture, or a very young professional, a lawyer or a chartered accountant or a company secretary who is starting his journey, how they should be looking at the branding, marketing and all that, especially, as you will agree, when they don't have so many resources to spend? And what is the importance for of this activity as such?
Right. So what my suggestion to anyone that is into any kind of business is that to the best of your capacity, definitely employ a few things that you feel work for you in marketing. You don't need to employ everything just because it is prescribed or it is stated that it works. Look at things that you can deliver within your capacity, within your resources, within your means. That is one, but keep consistently doing them for a period of time. Don't lose or drop that ball, and keep going at it. So what I'm saying is, you don't need to go too wide, but do two or three things, but go in depth with them. But keep that consistency as it goes along with time, so that it is something that you'll only keep getting better at. And it's better to be a specialist in some of these things than be a generalist. You'll also align your resources, your budgets, or your time for that matter a lot well in this approach. The second thing I would say is, whatever happens, you need to do two things. One is get an online presence. What I mean by that is with a website at least. Again, it can be a simple website. It can be an in-depth website, that depends on your own objective, but have a place to hold and maintain perceptions along with some information. So you need to direct information and perception to what you stand for. If you don't do anything, people will fill their own meaning to the entire thing, and that will work against you in some cases. So that is one thing. And when you're doing this entire thing, just as a simple exercise, just close your eyes and just say, or write on a piece of paper, say, what are the 10 things that you feel that this company or this brand stands for, and therefore use that in some way through all your communication. And I mean what your brand stands for, not in terms of just what you believe in, but also what resonates with the clients, and therefore finding that bridge. Which is what then you'll use in the website as a headline somewhere, or as a body copy, or as a sign off. But the language for what will be there on this website, or the few pieces of communication that you put out, will come from this exercise. So one is what is to be said. Second is how it is to be said. And third is where it is to be said. These three things, even if it is done in limited capacity, but do it with as much sincerity and focus on fundamentals is what I would come to. But don't ignore it completely. Don't do too many things at a time, and look at it as a slow game that will catch up and build.
So more to be a tortoise than a rabbit, in short.
Definitely, rabbit will work, but when you have to run fast, I'm sure you'll do the best of your capability. But they say, like, sometimes when you're doing weight training, people who do training in weights, they sometimes tell them that it's easier to do, some 3 kgs dumbbell and all, but it doesn't take a 1 kg dumbbell and just hold it like this for, 10 minutes or 1 hour. That shows a real sense of strength, even though the level of work is much less. So some of these things take a lot of, resilience, a lot of persistence, a lot of discipline, and that consistency is more important than doing in a flash or dash kind of thing, which we can do. I'm not too worried about that. It's the things that to do it slowly, but with meaning and with a lot of focus is what is sometimes challenging in this given day and age of everything, aadhe ghante mein pizza and 20 minutes mein you'll get something and something else, and whatnot.
So globally, how is this concept of branding, marketing and advertising in today's time, and how it is different from India? Because I'm very sure we will be a little behind them, the developed and the mature markets.
I would say that, there used to be a time when we used to be, in some way different or behind them. But in many ways, I think we have even crossed what they aren't able to do. So there's a lot of other ways in advertising and marketing that we have led the way. Otherwise, it's always been like we're looking at US or Europe or them to lead the way and then we do things. But I think the world is coming around 360 degrees where you're seeing philosophies like Buddhism, Hinduism, yoga, Ayurveda, which is, generations old, now coming at the forefront. So suddenly some of our own approaches are being considered as valuable. Having said that, there's a lot of interesting things that India does as well. There are a few things that we're lagging behind, but I think that is unique to each culture and each geography. We could say that the same for the case in India as well, when North India, East, West, each geographical side may behave little different.
I'll just cut you over here because what you are saying in my law college, one of our professor came at long time back, and he was just discussing the marketing side. It was a sort of what you said, north and south, I can well relate to an example what he said, and with due apology to anyone if we have caused any hurt to anyone. It's not to do, it's just but a practical thing what was communicated to her. With that caveat, I will be stating that in the north side, people want more loud thing, but in the south, if you go, it's much of a polished thing. For example, if someone is buying an automobile, a person who is doing this ad thing in the north side, they will think more on the color of the side and the more of the cosmetic part. But if in the south, what is the diameter of the tire, how much mileage it will give? So these are the thoughts I think I can well relate to you, what you are trying to say between the north and the south, how people will react to the same thing in a different way.
Correct. And it will always be unique to each place, while of course those lines are diminishing because people are coming from smaller villages, towns to cities, going back. But it is, the way, so it's like the way I look at it is, people ask me which place do you like when you travel. So I say, honestly, I really love every place because every place has its pros and cons. Some place there's a mountain and there's some unique things in the food, and other aspects somewhere else there's a beach, and then there's some other things, but the heat is too much and so there's always pros and cons with everything, and this depends on what works to the environment. So when I was working in Tanzania, I was there for 7 years, and one of the interesting things about working in an advertising agency in Tanzania is that one of my clients was German, one of my clients was American, one of my clients was Tanzanian, one of my clients was Indian, one of my clients was from Middle East, as in from Dubai. So all these clients and their heads were coming from different countries. The common solution that each one was looking to address was how to get a Tanzanian to buy more. So the solution is solution they're all looking for is the same: how to get the Tanzanian to consume more of the product. But the ways each one did it in each industry was so diverse. So there is actually 20 ways to answer a question sometimes. But at a particular time, maybe this one will work better and not that one. In some other time, that one will work better, not this. So it's always better to, have some of these aspects actually on the table and being diverse. But it's better to be cognizant of everything and then choosing to play rather than you're not prepared and then just launch into anything. Then you'll just keep doing whatever comes. So I think it's better to be a little balanced and fair on those fronts as well. Yeah.
So again, I'll Bonnie take you back to the first part of our theme on the people aspect. In today's time, it is no good how good you are, but what is essential and fundamental is how good the world perceives you to be.
Correct.
आप में काबिलियत जितनी भी हो वो एक लेवल तक काम आएगी, लेकिन जनता या आम जनता आपको कितना काबिल मानती है, that will take you to the next level. So having said that, what I'm trying to say, in today's time, today's young generation, maybe who are in the colleges, they're in a much better position than what we were at our age, because we didn't have that luxury of the social media and the exposure, etc. In today's time. So how important it is for them to for a student to build their brand from the student stage, maybe in a LinkedIn or somewhere. Because
I think so. Yeah, sorry.
Someone, let's say in the final year of a law or a final year of, let's say your, marketing or advertising college or a school, whatever you may use the term, is passing out. How important it is for him to showcase his talent and how good he or her, she is?
I think one is, if there are some people who are very clear with who they are and what they want to be, so it's easier for them. So we're not talking about them, but if we're looking at all the other kind of people who need a little bit of guidance or a little bit of insight, then look at things that are closer to you or are of interest, because then it naturally drives you to understand it better or to get more involved. And by nature of it happening very naturally, of getting interested in that topic or that approach, you will therefore employ it a lot more. To be associated with it. It may be a social cause like animal welfare. It could be a topic like environment. It could be a topic like finance and technology as a category, fintech. It could be any aspect of life, to be honest. What I'm saying is, steer towards things that interest you, because it's always better to, at least in my opinion, is to get a little bit more specific experience in a certain thing rather than a very generalist approach. So B2B marketing, B2C marketing, I think the fundamentals are the same, but the pressure on each lever is very different for B2C and very different for B2C. But overall, the fundamentals are the same, and so we need to keep in mind the fundamentals. And two is definitely ensure that we are doing things that come naturally to us. Two is that is looked at very credibly associated with us, and a few other things related to that. So that brand has to come out and alive in some other ways, and not necessarily only in an image or in a color, but it should come out in the language you use. It should come out in the expressions you say. It should be coming out in the videos and the topics you're trying to talk about. It should come not in what is said, but how and why it is said.
I think it's very important, out of the various social media as an option available. One approach can be to go and hit all the social media together and see whatever it hits can be there and whatever it may create an impression. The second way would be to do anything in a very pre-planned manner with a very good thought behind anything. How would you say how a person or a product for branding or a personal branding, they should choose, let's say, between the three of the key social media options available: Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn?
So for a personal branding, what I would say is it depends again on the category. So for example, if someone is into a business which is into professional services, so whether it is into fintech or whether it's a chartered accountancy, or a law firm or a veterinary, I don't know, whatever it may be. But in cases which it has a lot of consumers from the B2B side, maybe a LinkedIn would be better. But that is not to say that, but LinkedIn would be better to have maybe written articles, maybe videos, things that are a little bit more deeper in conversation.
More intellectual, you mean to say?
more intellectual. Could be like, so if I were to use another word, I would say more academic.
Sure.
A little bit more. But I would not say that ignore it on Facebook, because I would say don't ignore Instagram. It's just that the level of information in a LinkedIn you will give is little in depth. In Facebook, maybe you'll do maybe 15% of that, and Instagram maybe 10%. The reason why I say this is because Rishikesh is on LinkedIn, is on Facebook, is on Instagram. It is not like Rishikesh behaves differently on LinkedIn and then on Facebook he has a new avatar and totally it is the same person.
Until and unless he or she is a split personality.
Yeah, I mean that is a different case. That is more medical than branding. But yeah, so so in that sense, the person doesn't change when in different audience. It's just that if I am in a forum like LinkedIn, I'm in a mindset to absorb things a little bit more in depth and serious by nature. But if I'm on Facebook, I'm more in a mindset to have like fun, chill out, have an easy time. So I'm not waiting to look at ki 85% information nahi chahiye wo abhi.
Gyan nahi chahiye.
Ha, correct. So you need to look at the social media as an environment. So in a LinkedIn, maybe I'm happy to be very serious and all that, so I'll be that. But at Facebook, I'm just using it for time pass. I'm just going to like some pictures and send some smileys to my family here and there. So I'm not interested in very in depth. Instagram is only video picture. So okay, some event happened, sure I can put it up there. So it really depends. But I would say don't ignore it until and unless it is completely useless. Then of course don't use it at all.
Or in other words, if I have to take it to the next level, same message may be put in a 3 different levels.
Exactly.
If I have to give it with a example, whatever is coming in my mind, you can't use a Ranveer Singh for a LinkedIn, but you may use him for an Instagram.
Right.
You require more a stability like Mr. Bachchan for a LinkedIn.
Correct. Or to put it again differently, if say Ranveer Singh or Ranveer Kapoor also, it doesn't matter. But I'm saying if suppose one of them had to be dressed up and is going to work,
right,
and the conversation he is having at the lunch table, that would be him at LinkedIn.
Right.
If he is with his guitar or something else in the evening or morning or Saturday, he is on his Facebook. Right. And when he's at a party, it's more like his Instagram. Right. So even if it's the same person, but it's the same person, different thing, but the mood and the context gives a lot of relevance in terms of what you're saying. So I may say Happy Diwali to you in a different way on LinkedIn,
right,
but I can do it in a lot more fun way on Facebook. On LinkedIn, we like thoda mismatch nahi ho gaya, like that kind of thing.
Right. Second thing is we always see people say they have to grow their business, they have to grow their business, they have to grow their business. Again, I will be talking in a very small level. I'm not talking about big corporates as such. I'll reserve it for the next part. They say, and they will just give a very random post in a Facebook, some group or something. I am giving my services for this X amount or a Y amount. You feel that no one is even going to look at it. But if they do it in a more structured manner, more creative manner, maybe a flyer is designed and certain creative inputs are given, it will force people to look at it. Maybe people will spend 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
Yes. So earlier in advertising, we used to have this thing where we used to have a primary target audience and then a secondary target audience. And the reason for that is because everything was so expensive that you had to just choose one target audience and put everything behind it. Fundamentally, that is the same approach we use as brands, even on digital media. The only difference is that on digital media, because of its fragmentation, because of its peculiarities of how it can target a certain kind of a person, we can have different personas. So what it does is it gives me multiple different kind of people that I can target to. So now me, I say, suppose I'm a marketing and an advertising professional who runs events, advertising agency, design, all those aspects. The way I will talk to a law firm or lawyers or that aspect or that industry will have language from their speak and therefore craft the headlines that way. The look feel may be different. In case of animal welfare or NGOs, I'm giving my services to them. So they will have a different look, feel and aspects. So to simplify this, say suppose I was coming to your company with my product of these mugs and I'm selling to you who is the CEO. I'm going to speak to your CFO. I'm going to sit with your CPO and your CMO. I'm selling you the same mug, but what I will tell you as a CEO will be something else. What I'll be telling your CFO will be something else. It is all still about the same mug. I'm not lying, but the delivery of it will differ for each one, and therefore it will become unique.
So can I just, on a very lighter note, I think one question we all would have encountered at the start of the career, someone or we would have heard that story, someone giving us a pen and telling, "Isko bech ke kaise aoge, dikhao," right? In today's time, they will give a laptop and say, "Here are my Twitter, LinkedIn, and you tell me how you're going to post."
Right.
Different audience. There lies the difference.
Correct. So there's a whole lot of these things, but you have to make it unique. So in Twitter, you cannot go on and on. Right. In Facebook, you can have a little bit of fun. In LinkedIn, you want to keep it short and sweet because उसके बाद time नहीं है, वो काम कर रहा है, उसको बीच में suddenly वो चुटकुला नहीं दिखेगा. So maybe you do not want to be so casual. So each one has it. So, but it's really about tuning in for the message, tuning in for the medium, and therefore using that kind of tools.
Right. Also, in today's time, you will agree that basically any businessman, if I am an entrepreneur, I am only concerned with two things. Rest all is gyan, according to me, and you may correct my understanding because you would have dealt much bigger clients in your life. One, I am concerned from where I can raise money for my business, whether it be bank, whether it be the investors and the so on. And the second and the most important aspect is how I can generate revenue.
Right.
So one is raising of the finance, other is generating of the revenue. This is the entire journey of any entrepreneur or any business. It is between these two milestones.
Right.
And here the product comes, because if I raise finance, then my product will be there. I'll manufacture or I'll give service, because without finance, you can't do anything. Right. Even if I'm a startup, I may have a brilliant idea, but I require someone to invest in me.
Right.
And how I'm going to approach. So here the concept of branding, advertising, marketing plays a very good amount of role in influencing the key persons as such. Can you just elaborate on it?
Right. So I think, so just to reiterate the question, could you just explain that?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. What I'm trying to say in today's time, what are the two fundamental aspects for any person or a businessman? First is to generate finance.
Correct.
Second is to generate revenue. Revenue will come through sales.
Correct.
So how for these two aspects, this branding and everything comes? Because in today's time, we have seen if big people are going and doing an IPO, they do a brand promotional or the product promotional or the company promotional and the so on. Even if you are going, let's say, to explore to US, you are going in future 1 year down the line, 1 year back, you will try to explore or establish your brand over there.
Correct.
So the branding, marketing, advertising plays a very crucial role.
Right. So yes. So in both those aspects. So for example, when you're raising funds, there are some investors who are comfortable with just hearing it out and can see the potential. For a lot many people, they're not auditory, they are visual people, so they need to see some kind of design, some kind of flow chart, some kind of thing to be able to understand it that way. But one thing that cuts across everyone is some bit of work and thinking that has gone into it. That is one. Two is in terms of raising funds is one thing, and in finding new markets is another. So in IPOs, if you look at it, IPOs, this is the only one time where both those milestones are the same. Raising of funds also is one aspect, and second is also how to get those funds from these guys. So it's where the goal is the same. So therefore, in this, you'll find a lot of the IPOs, the kind of advertising they do will be in terms of the values, in terms of the background, in terms of the resilience, in terms of the opportunities, and various other things around that. In a company which is not in the IPO phase, but generally around, they have to imbibe the same level of trust, confidence in their consumers or their clients as much as what they have to imbibe or get it out from investors. So it is about, if you look at what communication is, if you look at what marketing is, if you look at what advertising is, it is not just about increasing the number of people using your product. It is really about connecting with people. And once you connect with people, then the usage is not a one-time thing. It will keep continuing over a lifetime. And that is what brands are doing. If brands just had to get the attention for one time, they will do something or a price cut or something else and they'll get your attention one time. But that is not the most successful strategy. The successful strategies are where they get you hooked onto it. And then you are like, no, I like this mobile only because it is this mobile or it is a certain thing. Why? Because it is a promise or a preference to a certain taste, to a certain community, to a certain lifestyle. And that brand allows you that. So the moment it does that in a very nice way, it ensures that it has that kind of loyalty to people. It has also the same kind of effect to investors who want to be part of that movement, who want to be something bigger. They feel, yes, this is exactly. So it really gives you that kind of confidence, and brand enables you to do that. So it is not just about getting attention. It is really about connecting. And that is why whether it's capital generation, or whether it is about new markets, or whether it is about revenues, connection will always go a long way. And therefore, I'm saying always keep fundamentals in mind and don't worry about digital media or social media. It will be some Android media after some 10 years.
So just to take it to the, I'll elaborate it further. That's why we have seen in many cases, you will agree with me, perhaps you would have also handled it. Annual report of any company plays a very vital role because it is more like a financial history of the company for that particular year gone by. Correct. Also giving us the look of the compliance and the regulatory status of it. And many companies devote a good enough time in this branding and marketing of their annual report. Your take on that?
Yes. So the reason for that, like you said, is very obvious. So from earlier being a very functional document,
right,
to the number of people now that it touches upon is very large. So people who still want to read the finer lines or the details, they're anyway going to do it. But there are a lot of other people who maybe the owners of the companies, they may want to go through it, get through the details. And when they go through the details, you want them to look at it in a particular way. So as a company, the reason I said as a new brand, one thing you want to do is do a few things, but do it right. And two is get a website for the simple reason that it directs your perception. So when I get an annual report, which is designed, and then it is telling you, oh, I believe in trust, I believe in people. And then you're leading to some of the other things inside. It is almost leading your perception into thinking ki, oh, I'm a community-based company. I am a people-centric house, XYZ. I'm into relationships. The person is anyway going to read the finer nuances of, 10 paise more or 100 rupees over and above. Right. But all the other subtle information also gets registered in there. So if you actually do a comparative test of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and some of these things in a blind test, you'll never be able to tell one from the other. Right. But the moment you keep the brand in front of them, you can go and talking about Coca-Cola for 10 minutes, and the same thing you can talk about Pepsi, but in a different way. But the moment you keep them both blind tests, you are like unable to say what is what. So some of qualitative influences does influence your behavior, does get registered, which is why luxury brands use it, which is why many other marquee brands use it, which is why many other different kind of brands use it in a different way. So each one takes advantage of it in other ways, but it is also because the largest set of target audience and also directing perception and information is important.
Bonnie, just last two questions. I think first of those is how important is a tagline? Nike, just do it. Pepsi, ye dil mange more. Nokia, connecting people. In today's time.
Taglines are important that if they can communicate something for you, a name might not be able to connote it. So sometimes when the name is an individual's name, for example, Bonnie Fernandes Private Limited, it doesn't say anything. So the tagline will do that communication. Oh, accountancy for you. I don't know. Or photography come to life. Right. It gives you something little bit more of the nature of the business rather than just the name, unless the name is, of course, very popular.
Right. The last question coming your way. Anything, as we say, is to be measured by, in Indian context, if we say either cricket or Bollywood, this is bigger than any religion in our country.
Mm.
At the same time, globally, politics is something whether we may like, we may not like, we may follow, we may not follow, yet it is there and it is a driving force if we
Right.
see it from a positive angle for the growth of any country.
Right.
And without leadership, it is not possible. You cannot have politics without leadership. I don't see
Right.
any country will have a politician who is not a leader.
Right.
He in magnitude he may differ. So what I'm trying to say is leaders also require branding, marketing, and advertising. Whether it's
Yes.
our beloved Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, or in that context, if we see it in a much bigger way, the globally in US, Donald Trump, or if for that matter, you may just share something if you would want to, how big it is in the US, this entire branding, marketing, advertising concept for the leaders as such.
Right. So I would say that it is important for, we all do branding. I mean, look at our own personal lives. There's a reason why we comb our hair in a particular way, or we like wearing certain specs or a certain watch or a particular kind of, shoes or food or whatever. They all speaks about, yeah, see, correct. So it all speaks volumes of what you like to do as a person, and therefore gives you that. Uh, in terms of communicating your benefit without getting too caught up on a couple of things is a line that someone used called Santosh Desai, and he said, always lead with ideas, not ideals. So when you lead with ideas, a lot of people who will otherwise get very confused and aligned to certain ideals and thoughts and thinking. But in business, we are not doing it because of those ideas. We're doing it for the idea merit itself, that we can bring value to this kind of a thing. And therefore, keeping that conversation always ideas based goes a long way in establishing a brand, in helping you stand out, and at the same time, being able to create a win-win across all rather than being little myopic in that sense.
Bonnie, it was very fun hosting you today for this webinar. And at the same time, I would extend my hearty thanks to you for agreeing in such a short time to come and be part of this webinar and address such a lovely group of people, diverse group of people. You have company secretaries, you have chartered accountants, you have lawyers, you have doctors, you have startups, you have entrepreneurs, MSME, and so on. Any
Right.
parting message you would like to give?
I think, one is, I think what COVID has taught us right now is that we can take things a bit slow, and we can do things in the real way, which is a very interesting thing. Two is, we don't have to do 100 things to be effective. We just have to do 2 or 3 things that are effective. I think we all employ trying to stand out in some form or the other. So I think we need to do those few things, even for our brands as ourselves or at our professional capacity for the companies. And just those few things will define a lot of things as it comes along. But having a sight on it at least will help you grow with it. Not having a sight on it is basically giving the key to your future in someone else's hand, and you don't even know whom you're giving it to. Because the moment you don't talk about your brand or yourself as a personal brand, someone else will start filling the void of no news about Bonnie or about Rishikesh or about someone else. Someone else will do that. And therefore, you need to fill that void before someone else does. And therefore direct the perception. So whatever in little capacity you can, you will, you should do that, but do it nonetheless.
I think real your 20 years of wisdom, and again I'll say the global reach, what you have been very fortunate at such a young age. Many people don't travel out of Bombay, and here you have traveled 4 continents. I think
Right.
definitely that exposure makes a big difference to seeing, and especially when you are seeing such diverse group of people, when you interact with the client, definitely that thought and that wisdom you have been able to share with all the participants. And again, on behalf of Udaan Saluters, I thank you a lot from the core of my heart, and that you have been very nice, very kind, and I'm very sure in future also you will come and teach us some gyans or some tricks of branding, marketing, and advertising. Second one, if anyone wants to reach to you or connect with you, how they can?
Yes. So you can always drop in an email at Bonny, BONNY, @spark-magic.com. That is the easiest way, just dropping a mail, or even if you look for my name, Bonny Fernandes, on LinkedIn or on a couple of the other social media, you'll find us. And like I mentioned, currently we're into events, we're into brand building, logos, those aspects, websites, social media. But we are also doing a lot of things which are community based and which is nothing to do with any make any money out of it. So one is
Pro
called
bono,
Humane
basically.
Humans. Yes. So one is Humane Humans, which is into giving psychological help with how to deal with stress through that forum, which happens on Facebook through videos. And we're also doing another thing called Common Roots, which is using music as a healer to get people to collect towards a cause. But it's the bunch of things that we're doing to keep things interesting rather than only reading COVID news and the sad aftermath of that every single day.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. And before going, I'll just like to inform all our viewers that this Sunday, don't miss this session, 5:30 p.m. onwards, Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan to talk on reset ideas. And just for your information, this gentleman is having only 52 years of corporate leadership experience, having been director in illustrious and iconic companies like Tata Group, vice chairman of Unilever, Brook Bond, Castrol, you name it. You can't get a bigger name than this to understand on the leadership and the management aspects. Don't miss this opportunity. And very soon, in a day or so, we'll be uploading this video of Bonnie's session in the YouTube. Then everyone, you can pass it on to your friends and everyone. Thank you to all the participants. And before going it, Bonnie, again, thanks a lot. And it was pleasure hosting you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was also a pleasure joining you all here.
Bye. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Thank you.